institutions that are there to listen and to protect citizens. It's good to have them close by before you have the central banks trying to kill the technology.
Yeah, I mean, we would definitely agree that we have to work together on this for all of us in the room. Well, we can open it up to questions that you might have in the audience. If you just raise your hand, someone will bring a microphone to you so we can all hear your question.
I told them all about the money, so they have no questions. All about the funding.
They're writing their applications right now.
You did all the nice questions, so all the right ones.
Hi. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. That's a lot of funding. How can you talk about how you are choosing to allocate that, and how? I mean, obviously, there's a ton of activity and a lot of, as you said, a lot of people talking about blockchain, but not necessarily doing things. I mean, I think you said 9.2 billion. That's are you guys becoming a venture capital firm? What's going on with that money?
Okay, so 9.2 is the digital. Just a second. It's let me find. It's called the digital EU actually plan that we have for a digital single market. In total, it's 9.2. One of the 6 or 7 windows we have, it's blockchain. So we did not specifically talked about a specific amount of money there, because we didn't want to limit that or to put a ceiling on that, but it's money to achieve a single market in Europe and friends of Europe. So this is the one thing. We have 300 million from the Connect EU facility. So if you can actually go into that, if you Google that, it's under the European Commission site, you will see there are pilots coming and tenders and calls that you can participate. It takes normally 3 different member states, organizations, companies, organizations to participate in good ideas. If there is nothing of of your interest, you can come back to us and suggest a pilot or a call that should open, like to test the technology, so we remove the risk from the cost of the risk that you would take. And we have the InvestEU coming, which means a lot of financing too. If you cannot find a bank to finance it, we can actually be a solution there with EIB supporting that, European Investment Bank. We have pilots. We made sure that we will have 700 million of blockchain projects funded the next 2-3 years. I think there's a lot of funding in different windows, and also making sure that it's eligible for funding. This is also important, because if the word is not there, then you cannot get the funding. So what we managed to do the last 3 years is, in any file you see in Europe, we put a little blockchain there, so you can get funding, financing, pilots, and blockchain ideas for social good, the COSME, the Horizon, just research for how blockchain can help us to solve other problems, like the SDGs. I think it's very clear that we are going to support it a lot the next years to come. And there's going to be VC. So I forgot that. So we have the EIC. You can check that. It's a new instrument that Europe is building. I think we're trying to get 10 billion there to invest as a VC, as a European VC actually in Europe. But we have to solve some issues, like if we could be participating as, with equity or not. But we're willing to make sure that we're going to support the industry, because we realize that we give a lot of money to research, and we try to support the academia, but then a lot of people are leaving. They're going to US to explore or like to advance their ideas, and we would like to change that. So yeah, we're trying to fix it.
Hi, thank you very much for all these insights. Very interesting initiatives from the government. The question is around successful implementation of these initiatives are expected to bring a lot of efficiencies into the whole ecosystem. Currently, European Union is already reeling under unemployment rate of around 7%. So the additional efficiency can really bring in or add to the unemployment rate. So what are the thoughts around addressing these issues?
Okay, I come from a country where we are close to 50% of unemployment, if you talk about the young people there, and women, almost 30 in general. So basically, I think we're increasing the levels of Europe. We see that there is huge potential to get jobs in the digital sector. So we have huge demand, but we don't have people that understand coding, data analytics, blockchain, AI. So what we're trying also to do, and it's part of the resolution, but also other actions that we have, is education, to make sure that people will have access to learn coding, and at least initially some lessons there, and to make sure that they were gonna choose to learn more, since there is demand of basically, I think we estimate 1 million of jobs are needed in this in the digital single market. Of course, a lot of that is blockchain too. So we're trying to make sure that at least the young people, young citizens, will have free tools to learn and be able to have, you know, these skills to not be unemployed. Because at this point, I have people that they are looking for jobs, but they don't have the skills, and then I have the companies that they're asking for people with digital skills and they cannot get them, so they have to move outside Europe to find them. So these are ways we're trying to respond to that. I would also say that we have the youth initiative, youth guarantee, the European Youth Guarantee. It's a program we have after you finish your university. For 3 years, we pay you and the company for you to get experience working there. So we cover that. This helped a lot to create new jobs. But I know it's not easy. And also we're trying to solve the tax harmonization we don't have in Europe. So this also makes it difficult, because if you have tax havens and you can move there, then you would start a business, especially when there are no borders in the digital world. You would start a business in a country with less taxes, right? So we have to make sure at least we will provide citizens, European citizens, a security and harmonized environment for them to invest in Europe. And give them incentives to do that. So if we say, you know, for the next 10 years, anybody that would start in this sector, we have legal certainty and not the maximum taxes, maybe not the minimum, 0.0 something, but at least a stable tax system and harmonized environment. I think this would help them a lot. So we're working to that, to achieve that. When I started 2014, this was not even a plan. Okay, so we managed to do a lot of things very fast. And the problem that we have in Europe, and I think this was one of the main reasons that UK was a bit upset with Europe, is that we have to compromise to move together. And if you're more advanced, then you have to compromise. This would hold you back. But at the same time, you have the benefits of a huge market. So trying to achieve that took us some time, but I think we have the vision, and we want to create a trusted environment with trust and quality for the citizens, and that's why I think blockchain could be really a factor that could change that, to decentralize even the control of of funding, of the banks, of us being able to have, equal opportunities, to make sure that we will not have everything centrally controlled, but to change our mentality and to make sure that citizens will even control their own data. This was not the case. I've been fighting in other files to make sure that people will not have their data sold or manipulated, or they will be discriminated based on their Google searches. Like if you search for a disease, you could be discriminated or not even get a job. You see that's happening in China, right? You have a ranking system of citizens, and they revoke their access to different things, even transportation, if they don't have a high ranking.
Thank you. I think we can take one more question from the audience.
A lot of central banks are looking at central bank digital currencies. What's your view of whether the euro will ever be issued on the blockchain, and should the ECB doing anything about it?
Well, I have asked for, how did they say it, a crypto coin, a European crypto coin, to explore how that could work. So we work with the central banks, but the central banks cannot force us to follow what they think. So we can have different approaches. My first question to Draghi was how he sees the cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin in 2015. And he said, we are monitoring that, but we don't consider it to be a currency. The same day he answered to me, there was a decision from the European Court of Justice saying that it is a currency, it is treated as a currency. So we can have different approaches, but we have to work together. And I know the central banks, they're also exploring this technology to be able to use it internally in the beginning. So I would say if there are benefits for the citizens, there are no banks that can stop us from using the technology. I don't understand why they were so defensive. No, I understand. I understand, but I didn't expect for them to be so, not try even to hide that, so uncomfortable for that. So you will be disrupted if you don't try to understand this new technology. I think you should see the potential and try to even outsource or implement or try to include in your policies and your strategy and your business model these new technologies. And I know a lot of people will be disrupted, intermediaries, for example. But we still need, when the ATMs were, this new technology came up, everybody thought all the bankers will lose their jobs. It's going to be just ATMs. There were more bankers to explain to people how the ATMs were working. And not everybody's connected. So not everybody will be able to have access to internet or these technologies. So I think I didn't understand why they were so defensive. So I think they needed some time, and I think we're gonna manage to work together in the direction of using this for to benefit the society.
Wonderful. Eva, thank you so much for joining us here. We're very honored. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.